Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to yet another episode of my tips and tricks series, and in today's episode we're going to be focusing on ways to improve your rank. In this video, we're going to be covering the following topics: operator selection, advanced callouts, importance of teamwork, anchoring, and roaming. Tip number 1. Choosing the right operator. When selecting your operator, you should be mindful of their utility, gadget, and gun. You should pay attention to the gun because, like I explained last video, it will obviously have an impact on your ability to control recoil. Now, the utility and gadget won't have an effect on your aim, but it will play a large role on how both teams attack or defend the objective, and it may ultimately help your team win a round. For example, Jaeger's ADSs obviously don't affect his gun, but they do positively affect his team's gameplay because it prevents the attackers from openly throwing shit like flashbangs, smoke grenades, hockey pucks, candelas, ash charges, grenades, etc. If you're brand new to this game, one way to ensure that you will help your team regardless if you get a kill or not is by using support operators. Generally speaking, support ops are basically those that are not necessarily great by themselves, but complement another operator on their team. Two examples of this would be Thatcher and IQ because their gadgets aren't necessarily awesome by themselves, but Thatcher can clear mute jammers and shockwire for Thermite to open a wall, and IQ can spot all sorts of defensive gadgets and destroy them. Also, another thing to keep in mind is if you see your teammates have already selected operators like Vigil, Ella, and Caveira, try to pick a 3-armored operator and hold down the objective. In most cases, 3-speed operators are the ones who roam and play off-site, and 3-armored operators are the ones who hold down the site. If your other teammates are going to take the role of roaming, it's important to step up and play as an anchor. A good rule of thumb, every team should have at least 2 players playing the objective at all times, because if everyone on your team is roaming or you only leave one guy on the site, all the enemy team has to do is kill one person and they immediately have control of the objective. If this happens, it will be much harder for the defenders to retake the site, and odds are your team is going to lose that round. If one anchor does happen to get picked off, then the roamers on your team need to start making their way back to the objective because the attackers will soon make their push. It's very easy to do this when the anchors can communicate to the roamers, which brings up our next point discussing the importance of callouts. In a few seconds, I'm going to play a clip because before we dive into this section, I think it's important to give an example of an everyday scenario where callouts help your team. After the clip is over, we will discuss everything a little bit more in depth. Bold claim, but I've played with Brian.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, you know how badly I want that back. Oh, that's a headshot! Pick me again, bitch! Pick me again, bitch! Oh, you can't. You're dead as fuck.
Got him!
I'm just gonna drone this bitch. I'm done. I got my kill for the round.
One connector / wine cellar on the Mira. One is blue. It's Doc. Dead, blue dead.
Okay, we're dead.
One wine cellar, one connector. Last scene. So one connector, one wine cellar. Might have moved into objective, maybe. Or maybe that's just on the Mira. Yep, no, last one wine. 100%.
Secure the container.
Oh,
Good shit.
your boy.
First of all, your callouts should be quick, concise, and in order of relevance. For example, on that Chalet clip, notice how I told Wes about the guy in blue, then the guy in connector, then the guy in wine cellar. I did this because that was the order that Wes was going to encounter the enemies. If you go back and watch that clip again, you will see that Wes was expecting an enemy to rotate up through blue stairs until I made the callout telling him that the guy in blue was dead. As soon as he heard the callout, he was like, okay, cool, there was only one guy in blue, now he's gone, and it's clear for me to head down that way. A good way to think about giving callouts is that you're guiding someone through a corn maze. You're the eyes of the operation, you can see what's going on, and you're essentially telling them what's ahead. The player's job is to then execute on those orders. On the flip side, when you're receiving the callouts, you have to trust what your teammates are telling you because they most likely know something that you don't, whether that be through a stationary camera or another teammate's screen. Giving callouts is just as important as securing the kill because it 1. Informs your teammate of the enemy's location, and 2. It allows him to prepare for the encounter. This is why the guy with the most kills may not actually be the most influential person on your team, but instead it could very well be the guy at the bottom of the scoreboard giving callouts and playing the support role. Tip number 3. The importance of teamwork. By playing with a squad, your chances of winning go up tremendously because you can communicate with each other. It is so much easier to play the game when you're all on the same page rather than everyone else doing their own thing. Sure, you might be the best player in the lobby, but one person can only do so much. I would take a team of silvers and golds over a team that consists of 1 diamond and 4 coppers / bronzes any day of the week. Siege is a game all about teamwork, and in this situation there'd be one team that understands the current meta, they would know where to throw impacts to create rotations around the objective, they'd be able to make callouts to each other, and for the most part they would know where to hold angles and where to flank. On the other hand, the only person that would know what to do on the other team is the diamond, and the coppers wouldn't really understand strategies that the diamond's trying to do. They wouldn't really be able to give helpful callouts, and there'd be a clear disconnect in team synergy. Now, for those who struggle with learning strats and picking objectives, let's put it this way. Not all sites are good, and some sites are simply easier to defend than others. To avoid making it harder on yourself and to give your team the best chance to win, pick the best sites first. This seems like a given, but there are a significant percentage of people out there that continue to choose awful sites. Listed on screen are the best 2 objectives on each ranked map, and if there are any platinums or diamonds in the comments, they will verify that these are the most commonly chosen and most popular places to go. I'll leave this up on screen for 15 to 20 seconds, and when you want to advance, feel free to skip ahead a few frames. Tip number 4 and tip number 5, anchoring and roaming. If you're new to the game, I would personally suggest being an anchor. Anchors don't really need the best game sense in the world, all they really have to know is what entrances the attackers will usually push from. Your main job is to hold the enemy back as long as possible and to stall their attack, not necessarily to get 5 kills in a single round. Think of yourself as the last line of defense. You are the security guard watching over a pot of gold, and if you get taken out, the opposing team can walk straight in and steal the gold. This simply means don't die. All you gotta do is survive. I'm telling you, if you take one thing away from this video, it's gotta be this. As a fat guy, your ultimate goal is to not die. This means don't peek angles, don't throw yourself in the middle of the room, don't expose yourself to windows or doorways when an attacker might be holding an angle, play conservative, and use your head. As you play each map more and more, your game sense will naturally increase, and you might want to start trying to learn how to roam. Roaming is generally best for players who have great game sense and solid aim because they'll know where to flank, when to flank, and how to flank. It's very helpful to know when the attackers are pushing the objective because that's a key sign for you to start moving in from behind. This is why if you want to rank up and play at a higher level, it's important to play with a team because your anchors can say something like, hey, I need you to start making your way back to site, or they're pushing from east stairs, I need you to go flank from there, anything like that. Also, if you're a roamer, put yourself in the mind of the opponent. What would you be doing if you were on offense? Where would you be spawning? Where would you be pushing the objective? All these questions can be used to determine your flank route and your overall positioning and strategy for a given round. Be aware that humans are creatures of habit, meaning we tend to repeat certain actions or do the same thing over and over again. Keep in mind wherever the attackers enter the building on round 1, because there's a high chance they'll do the same thing on round 3. If you notice the attackers are doing the same patterns over and over, what you can do is play Caveira and silently sneak over and hide in that general area. If the attackers are coming through, be patient, wait a few seconds for them to enter, and then pounce on your unsuspecting prey. Alright guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's video. I really hope you were able to learn something, and if you did, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. I've gotten several comments telling me that they had no idea I had posted because YouTube simply wasn't sending them anything. As YouTube sends out less and less notifications, it's more important now than it's ever been to have that little bell on. You'd be doing me a great service, and I would heavily appreciate it. Also, I know I said I would make it a part 2 to the Improve Your Aim video, but as I sat down and thought about it, there's really not much else I can say. Controlling recoil is all about muscle memory, which is only developed through repetition. I already went over the fundamentals, including sensitivity, attachments, gun recoil, and the difference between each gun, so the only thing left to do is simply practice the techniques and tips given in that first video. Anyways, hope this vid helped. If it did, please like, sub, noties, you guys know the deal, and with that being said, I'm going to leave on this note.
Alright, if they push in front of you, Claymore behind you.
Okay, dope. Doc's to my left, Capcan's by the garage, Jaeger's in connect. Oh, here comes Capcan. Come get me, you asshole! Boom! So close. Can't believe that didn't work.